Alright guys, welcome back to Who Would Win. We're basically, whenever I have a weird or really just interesting fight that I just can't really figure out who would win, I just put it on YouTube and just let you guys talk about it and see what would happen. So anyway, yeah, as you can see from the title, this time around, yeah, who would win? Jasper or Sabertooth? Yeah, Jasper from Steven Universe or Sabertooth from, of course, Marvel Comics. I've been using a lot. I've been thinking of a lot of gem-centric fights. Honestly, I mean, I had Pearl and Batman. I thought about a Pearl and Batman fight. Then I thought about Katara and Lapis. Now it's Jasper and Sabertooth. Shit, who knows? Maybe I'll get. Who knows? If I watch the more Steven Universe I watch, the more I'm like, yeah, I want to. I wonder what characters Steven Universe characters could take on. And this is no different, with, of course, Jasper going head-to-head in this fight against Victor Creed, Sabertooth. So, let's talk a bit about Victor Creed. Sabertooth, of course, as we all know, is the arch-nemesis of Wolverine. He is, basically has all the powers Wolverine does, enhanced senses, claw, I wouldn't say, well, he did have adamantium at one point, I believe, but then they kind of pulled it out of him, so he still has, like, the bone claws. Well, bone fingernails that become claw-like. Healing factor, all of that stuff. He has all of that, and Wolverine may have defeated him with the Muramasa blade. He cut his head off, and now Sabertooth. Well, the original Sabertooth is still in hell, I believe. The one that's around now is the Age of Apocalypse Sabertooth. So, yeah. But with Sabertooth, I'm talking about the original Sabertooth here in this fight, not the Age of Apocalypse Rick Remender Sabertooth. Now, in this, Sabertooth has mostly been called a wild animal, and for all intents and purposes, he is very much so like a wild animal. But the big thing with Victor is that he's crazy, and you have to add like a fox, because Victor is incredibly intelligent, but he can let that, because he believes, as long as I let the animal out, I'm totally fine. And yeah, boy does he let the animal out. I mean, Wolverine, before he decapitated him, Victor was a very hard-to-kill person. I mean, Wolverine's victory rate against him in a one-on-one match, it wasn't a lot. He didn't have a lot of victories over Sabertooth in, their clashes. So, in that regard, Wolverine and Sabertooth Sabertooth is almost like Wolverine's better in some cases. He's the superior Wolverine. But yeah, Sabertooth is also, like I said, incredibly intelligent, scary intelligent. Like, I've seen this guy crack through, security walls and, break into, I remember one comic where he, rigged a satellite. So he is actually pretty smart, and, he's very old, so a lot of experience behind him. He's also a pretty damn good martial artist. I mean, he could go toe-to-toe with the likes of Iron Fist and Shang-Chi. So that gives you a perspective of how good of a martial artist he is. But he usually depends on his inhuman strength and, his animal ferocity for the most part. He just adds that martial arts skill to his animal senses. So that's a bit, yeah, with Sabertooth, this is a nearly unstoppable animal. He's cunning, he's ruthless, and he won't stop until you're dead. Now, the same could be said for Jasper, honestly. You could say, honestly, the same for Jasper in that regard. Jasper is very intelligent, she's brutal, she's dangerous, and she's a savage warrior. Granted, she's not as... Well, actually, no, I think she is as sadistic as Victor is. But with Jasper, she's more of a military set. She's more like a soldier. She sees herself more of a soldier, whereas Victor sees himself more as an animal. And with that, she's probably one of the strongest gems out there. She could, even though Garnet beat her towards the end of season 1, Garnet beat her on that ship. You could see that Garnet took some beatings. Garnet took a beating in that fight, even though she was singing along. It looked like she was having trouble. Now, it's really hard to gauge how strong Jasper is. We don't know if she's like Hulk level strong or something of that regard, but I imagine she's pretty strong. She talked about how she wanted to go head-to-head with Rose Quartz, and Rose, for all intents and purposes, seems like a very powerful being. So, but We don't know if that's like bravado or, if she can actually back that up of how strong she is in wanting to go toe-to-toe with Rose. Having said that, though, we do know that her weapons, are mostly her fists, as well as her main weapon, which is a helmet. Her helmet that she can use to just use it as a battering ram. As well as, her size and strength really do have a lot to say with her power. She also has that spin dash attack, of course. You can't, something that can also just barrel through anything. So if these two were to fight, someone's not walking away. Yeah, someone's not walking away from this matchup. Someone is going to die a horrible, bloody death in this matchup. Now, gems actually, what we've seen from Lapis is that gems look like they have some pretty fragile gems. And Jasper's is right on her face. Literally, it's like, with Lapis, when I talked about the Lapis and Katara matchup, Lapis's is safely secured behind her back. And her gem is behind her back, and it's kind of hard to hit that when you're up in the air. Jasper's is her nose. It's literally her nose. So, all Victor has to do is just go and rip that thing off, and, rip that off her face, and then poof, she's gone, and then he can just easily crush it. On the other hand, though, Jasper's not just going to make this easy. Jasper is in no way going to make this easy for Sabertooth. Yeah. And, I can only imagine, even though Sabertooth could probably get up from a punch from Jasper, I'm pretty goddamn sure he's going to feel it, He's going to be hurting, and I'm pretty sure once Jasper hits you, she's not going to stop hitting you. And that's going to apply very much to Victor. She's not going to let up for 1 second of just pummeling him into submission, or until he's like a paste. And I would imagine, his healing factor is going to be working overtime in this fight. So this is going to be a very brutal and bloody matchup between Jasper and Sabertooth. So you guys tell me, who do you guys think would win in this matchup? If you think Jasper would win, just put hashtag Jasper and list off the reasons why you think she would win. Or if you think Sabertooth would win, just put hashtag Sabertooth and list off the reasons why you think he would win. But anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.